Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Life's Multiverse. I hope you're ready for a very exciting episode because today we're diving into the rhythms of heart. And I'm not talking here about the beats of love songs, but the very real, measurable rhythm of our heartbeats and how it plays a major role in our well-being and daily life. And in particular, we're talking about something called the brain-heart coherence, which is currently still something on the frontier of science. And while the research is still ongoing, we already have a profound evidence supporting this fascinating mind-body connection and how our heart actually influences the brain and vice versa. So if you're curious to learn more about your heart and how does it actually influences your emotional state and well-being, and how does it connect your brain and influences decision-making, keep listening as we are going to explore everything in details and provide even some ways to improve this brain-heart coherence and strengthen this connection, so you can experience an overall boost in your well-being. But before continuing, let's pause here for a second and explore this concept further. Have you ever wondered why do we have so many expressions related to the heart in our language? For example, we would say to pour one's heart out, or a change of heart. You can probably think of many more. Collectively, these expressions assume that the heart is not only a machine that pumps blood, but also the seat of emotions. So we'd say, for example, aching heart or broken heart, bleeding heart. Nobody says follow your liver. We would say follow your heart. So while these expressions and metaphors about the heart reflect centuries of folk wisdom, it's recently getting increasingly supported by discoveries in neurocardiology and neuroscience, as it was found in a recent research that the heart has an intrinsic nervous system consists of 4,000 nerve cells called neurites, which establishes a bidirectional communication between the heart and the brain, forming a harmonious dance between the two parts. And when these rhythms align and synchronize, we achieve a state known as coherence. And this coherence leads to a state of balance and optimal performance, which has enormous effects on our health and well-being. For example, it will enhance our immune system, it will increase our energy, it will also have effects on the cognitive and psychological functions, such as improving the cognitive performance, emotional stability, and increased intuition and creativity. It also plays a major role in reducing stress and anxiety, which we will talk about in more details later. But on the other hand, when our heart and brain are not in balance, we experience something called incoherence. It's usually the opposite of what we described in the state of coherence, so we will have decrease in immune functions and other physiological effects such as shallow or rapid breathing, muscle tensions, or digestive issues. We'll experience fatigue and increased irritability, also overwhelming stress or anxiety and mood swings, feelings of disconnection or detachment from oneself or surroundings. These are all signs of incoherence. And all of these phenomena have something to do with our autonomic nervous system, the ANS, which has two parts. There's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, which we talked about in previous episodes, but the parasympathetic nervous system is usually associated with the rest and digest state, which is the state of calmness and relaxation. And this state comes after we experience many positive emotions such as love or peace. And there is the sympathetic nervous system, which causes fight or flight or freeze response. And this is activated in emotional states such as anger or stress. And these are all basics of neurophysiology, nothing new so far. But the new discovery is that these states influence also our cognitive functions, which is something we also know intuitively, but we didn't have the proof of it. But now, after discovering this heart-brain connection, we know that the heart affects our cognitive function in the brain. So this is why, for example, when someone is angry, they will make decisions or take actions that they will regret in the future because they were under the influence of this incoherent state. On the other hand, people with more positive emotions and experiencing a state of calm and relaxation, their decisions are usually wiser and they make smarter choices in their lives. Because this connection directly influences something we call the foresight, which is, in other words, the ability to judge correctly what is going to happen in the future. This is why we need to calm down before taking any decisions, because when we are in the state of irritation, it's very hard for us to envision what will be the consequences of our actions. Another very profound example on this is compulsive gambling, where the gambler is overwhelmed by the state of irritation along with excitement, so they cannot judge and see the irrationality of the decisions they are taking while gambling compulsively. This applies to many other compulsive behaviors as well. And as I'm describing these phenomena, I'm sure that many of you, if not all, are able to relate on some incidents from their lives where they had some similar effects or they were in a very similar situation. As I myself able to bring up countless examples on experiences I've been through that relate to these descriptions. But the very important thing to differentiate here is that we also have two types of incoherence between the heart and brain. There is the temporary incoherence and there is something called the prolonged incoherence. So the temporary is usually situational. For example, something irritated us, so we got angry, let's say for some period of time, and we lost our coherent state. Or we experience some stressor, or we will emotionally overwhelmed. On the other hand, the prolonged incoherence is way more dangerous for our health and well-being. And it's caused usually by something chronic, like chronic stress. Sometimes underlying health conditions also could affect this, or mental health challenges, especially anxiety, depression, or PTSD. Also, some lifestyle factors play a role in this state, such as lack of sleep, or poor diet, or lack of physical activity, as well as substance abuse. They can all contribute to prolonged incoherence because they are repetitive over and over again. So our brain and heart don't get the chance to work in balance again unless we fix these underlying problems in our lives. And the most relevant could be the unresolved traumas, as past traumas that haven't been addressed or processed can keep an individual in a state of incoherence as the body remains in a heightened state of alertness or defense. Also, chronic stress is prevalent in our society nowadays, whether it's related to work or relationships or other life circumstances, which can lead to sustained incoherence. And this incoherence, as we explained before, will be caused by the continuous activation of the sympathetic nervous system over the parasympathetic nervous system. And now, after explaining and describing about all these states, you might be wondering what is the thing in the heart that determines these states and influences the brain. And here I might have a new information for you, as the latest research in cardiophysiology was able to isolate one metric that was essential in detecting the balance of our nervous system. And this metric is called HRV, which is the heart rate variability. So what is this HRV all about? Well, HRV refers to the variation in time between successive heartbeats. So let's put it in other words. We all know that our hearts beat in rhythm. And we know that we can measure our heartbeats, for example, our smartwatch or just sensing our chest could give us a clue if our heart is beating fast or slow. But HRV itself is not about how fast or slow the heartbeats are, but rather how much the duration between beats varies. So a higher HRV indicates greater variability between heartbeats, while a lower HRV suggests less variability. Or to put it even more simply, it's how fast our heart could change its beats rhythm. So from here it was found that a higher HRV often indicates a healthy balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So in general, the higher the heart rate variability is, the higher chances that you are in a state of balance, and vice versa. But now if you're wondering how you can measure this at home, well, there are many biofeedback devices that could measure heart rate variability. While many of them are slightly expensive and not very practical, the good news that I can give you is that if you have a smartwatch, they usually measure heart rate variability, and for example, I can do it on my Apple Watch, and I'm sure many other watches do have this capability as well, where the watch uses a technique called photoplethysmography, which is a very difficult word, by the way, to measure this heart rate variability and to measure the heart rates in general. And by measuring the heart rates and the difference between each heartbeat, they can extrapolate the heart rate variability from this measurement. But when it comes to HRV, there is no golden number there we should aim for, because it changes depending on every individual state, for example, the activity level, and especially on the age or other lifestyle factors. But the thing that I was trying personally to do is following some techniques that could improve heart rate variability and compare my own HRV to the previous state in time, for example, and see if it's getting higher or lower over time. And it was found that the most accurate time to measure HRV is in the early morning after you wake up. And then you can try to compare every day how it's going. And for me, with doing some practices that I will share with you in a moment, I was able to increase my heart rate variability by 10 milliseconds over the past 3 months, which is around 20% increase, by the way, and this is kind of significant. Because heart rate variability in general, it varies between 20 and 200 milliseconds for the individual, depending on many factors. And there are some tools online that could guide you on what is the proper range for you. Then you can keep measure your own HRV consistently and notice the difference. And again, when I'm talking about improving my HRV, I'm talking about the average, where on each particular moment it will also be different. Because it also depends on the emotional state, as it was found in a very interesting study that they were able to predict by 75% accuracy the emotional state of an individual only by measuring their HRV. And here we're not talking about HRV as a single number, but rather as a pattern over some period of time, where they used neural network with pattern recognition to classify the emotional state based on the pattern that was recorded from the HRV state over a period of time, where the HRV produces a wave-like pattern that naturally emerges from the heart rate without any conscious changes in the breathing. And now, after discussing all this theory, let's go to the practical part and start explaining how we could improve this brain-heart coherence and increase our HRV. And of course, as always, the number one practice that could improve our state is mindfulness, where it was found that mindfulness practices such as meditation and deep breathing have been shown to improve heart-brain coherence by reducing stress and increasing self-awareness. And especially breathing exercises are the number one tool to achieving mental clarity, as it helps to feel more together instantly. It stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the main nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system. The third crucial practice in improving heart coherence was found to be gratitude, where practicing gratitude has been shown to have profound effects on both the heart and the brain, aligning them in a state of coherence. As gratitude introduces an immediate shift to coherence by experiencing all these positive emotions. And as we described before, more positive emotions means higher HRV. And when we practice gratitude, simultaneously the brain responds to this positive emotion by reducing the production of stress hormones and increasing the release of feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin. While gratitude also shifts our focus from what we lack or what's causing us to stress to what we have and appreciate. This shift in perspective reduces feelings of stress and anxiety. And overall, it's a very good tool to enhance our emotional well-being, because the more we practice gratitude, the more we reinforce positive neural pathways in the brain, making it easier to find things to be grateful for in the future. Not to mention the physiological benefits that we can harness from this state of coherence and gratitude itself. And gratitude was very well researched and studied recently that we could even dedicate a full episode for that in the future. And most importantly, it's very accessible and easy to practice. So for example, if you wanted now to start practicing gratitude, you can search in tons of available resources online about gratitude-focused meditations. Or you could do that by gratitude journaling, or just simply think of something you're grateful for every single day. And keep it consistent to do that, for example, every morning. When you wake up, think of 3 things you're grateful for, and you will see the benefits very soon. And now let's talk more about breathing, which is the second tool we mentioned to improving coherence and HRV. And in breathing, there are multiple techniques that found to be helpful in this area. Some of them we're going to mention now, such as deep breathing, which is the regular slow deep breaths that can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation and increasing HRV. We also have the box breathing, which we talked about in previous episode, where you can inhale for the count of 4, then hold your breath to the count of 4, and then exhale again for 4 and hold for 4 before taking the second inhale. And it's used by many, including Navy SEALs, to calm the mind and body. But the next breathing technique that we're going to explore is slightly different, which is especially about this topic. It's called heart-focused breathing. This technique involves focusing attention on the heart area while imagining the breath flowing in and out of the heart or chest area. It helps in aligning the rhythm of the heart and breath, promoting a state of coherence and calm. And there are also many available resources online or on YouTube. When you type in heart-focused breathing, you will find many videos that will guide you through the process and how you can guide your imaginations into your heart and keep breathing. And it's not yet clear to me how it works, but it was found that instructing people to place their attention in the center of the chest and then self-activate a feeling of calmness or a positive emotion can lead to lasting increase in the ability to self-regulate and maintaining their composure, because it leads to an increase in the HRV and vagal activity. And what's fascinating is that this exercise is already done in many religious practices, where people are instructed to direct or position their hands close to their hearts while praying. And there are also other ways to improving our heart-brain coherence and HRV, which include physical exercise, diet and nutrition, and adequate sleep, which are always key factors in maintaining our well-being. Also many other factors such as social connections, as it was found that spending time with loved ones, socializing, and forming meaningful connections can have a positive impact on emotional well-being and HRV. Also nature exposure, which oftentimes overlooked, especially in our modern society and culture. And spending time in nature, whether it's a walk in the park or a hike in the mountains, can reduce stress and improve mood and enhance HRV. Also, there is an ongoing research about music and sound therapy. While listening to calming music or specific sound frequencies can induce a state of relaxation. While all these techniques are very good and helpful for overall well-being, you will feel free to experiment and try what works best for you and what gives you the optimal results. And as we wrap up, I'd like to thank you for joining me in this enlightening journey into the world of heart-brain coherence. As we discovered, the harmony between our heart and brain is more than just a physiological phenomenon. It's an intricate dance of emotions, thoughts, and bodily functions that define our human experience. So by understanding and harnessing this coherence, we open doors to improved emotional balance and deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us. Remember that the heart and brain's rhythm is a song we all carry within us. And with the right practice, we can make it a harmonious one. I hope you'll stay balanced and see you in the next episode.